Webster High Class gives an intimate inside look at the infamous Canadian rockers, Max Webster. Let's go. Canadian musician and author and Matt Jake's fan, I'm finding out. Bob Wegner joins us in studio now to chat about the making of the book around one of Canada's most prolific rock bands. Bob, good to see you.
Sid, thanks for having me.
Great to have you in. All right, let's walk through the book here. How long did this take to put together? This is like, I've seen coffee table books before. Like, some are bigger than others. This is a monster. How long did it take?
Nearly a decade.
A decade?
Yeah, it was basically a PhD thesis on a band. And I just went through newspaper archives and just the whole thing. I mean, now you can go through newspapers.com and just find and search by keyword. But back then, you had to go to a library and just go through the microfiche.
This thing called a library.
Yes, kids. We used to be able to go to libraries, but it was a wonderful trip because you could just go through old papers going back a century, and so we're just searching through the 1970s, trying to find any concert review, and then you speak to the band members, then you find photographers, and put it all together, and it was a really, really great trip.
I'm a Kim Mitchell fan. I'm a Max Webster fan. Anytime on a mic I hear someone go, check, 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 I think of Max Webster. Look it up if you don't know. For those at home not familiar with this extremely important chapter in Canadian rock history, how do you define Max Webster?
You can't. That's the whole point. That's what makes them so great. They were an indie band before the idea of an indie band, the term indie band existed. They eschewed the cliches. They didn't write love songs. They didn't write storytelling songs. They just had a complete separate identity from anything and everything else. They sounded like nothing in their generation, and still at the same time they defined a generation. There's no band that's ever like this.
Now this book is finding its way to some famous hands. Fill me in.
Yeah, I just heard yesterday that Geddy and Alex from Rush got their copies of the book, and I was sent a photo of them, and just absolutely wonderful. And just them holding my book and seemingly very happy with it. For those who don't know, Max Webster and Rush, there's our wonderful photo. They did about 200-something days together because they were on the same label, same management. Terry Brown, they shared a producer, and they just toured together for years.
You get to know a band pretty well, playing 200 dates.
Oh, yeah. and then, of course, they eventually recorded together. They did this on Battle Scar together in the studio, which was the first time they had two 24-track tape machines in a room recording the same band.
That's awesome.
And the producer was Jack Richardson, the guy who produced all the Guess Who's records. And you can imagine him just with a conductor's baton conducting the two bands as they're trying to record at the same time, almost like he's a referee.
Now, I mean, this is a significant chapter in the history of Max Webster. Yeah. Another one happened just a few months back when Max Webster was one of the bands honored at Canada's Rock of Fame event. A long overdue honor for a significant band. Forgive me, I haven't asked you. I'm assuming you were there.
I was there, yeah.
So what was that like?
It was just wonderful because, I mean, there were all these bands that were getting in, and about 12 or 13 different artists, and they were the only one where all the members that played on the albums were there. All the other bands had someone that was estranged, or something happened, maybe somebody passed. So it was just wonderful that these 6 players were all there, and going in with what I was saying about how they just kind of were not cliched, not following the rules, being kind of an indie band before an indie band. All the bands that were honored, it was the whole, so how does it feel and how was it, blah, 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 blah. But with Max Webster, was tell us about how iconoclastic you were and the courage that it took. And Mike Tilka, the bass player, said, no courage whatsoever, pure, adolescent stupidity. And I thought, that's fabulous. They didn't play the game then. They're not playing the game now.
I gotta tell you, young Kim Mitchell gets me every time. Absolutely every time. And I know a lot of people watching are familiar with Kim based on solo career.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you, would we know a Kim Mitchell were it not for Max Webster? Was he the type of talent that you think we'd hear from at some point in this country?
That's those hypotheticals. That's such a great question. You can never know the choose your own adventure. If you choose this one, you don't know what's going to happen that way if you change a variable. Well, it's interesting enough that he didn't even intend to have a solo career after Max Webster. He was doing session work. He produced the Coney Hatch album, and you just...
So he was going to be a studio rat.
Maybe a studio guy, or just join some other band. That was what he said was always his hope, just to join some kind of a band and be the guitar player. And it never happened, so he put together a band, and now we know, and there's Kim on screen now with me in the book. you would have known. But for sure, I guess it was kind of a launching pad, I suppose, and of course, it brought popularity to him and their music. So I'm sure it helped, but it's hard to know. But you'd like to think someone as talented and brilliant as him, of course, was going to find something.
Yeah,
of course.
He's too big a talent. Bob Wegner is the author. Max Webster, High Class, available now for purchase. If you are a fan of Canadian rock at any level, this is a must-have. Bob, appreciate you coming by.
Hey, so thanks for having me.
Best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break.